Okay, here we are with photosynthesis part two. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I just can't even tell you how excited. I know you may not be as excited as I am, but I am so excited because you are going to see words that we have talked about from cells and biochemistry, and they're all going to come together. Oh, this is so cool. I love it when a plan comes together. Let's get started. Maybe. Let's move to the next slide. There we go. Woo. All right. So the light reaction of photosynthesis. We're back to this. All right. So this is the process that's used for converting sunlight into usable chemical energy. All right. The usable chemical energy. So we got sunlight, and we are going to create usable energy in ATP and NADPH. Okay. This is the light reaction because we're using the sunlight. All right, there's two parts that are occurring in the presence of sunlight and at the same time on the thylakoid membrane. Whoops, let's go back here. So we're using sunlight and we're on the thylakoid membrane. I want you to take a look at this. That should look a lot like the cell membrane because it's another membrane. All right, so you have phospholipid bilayer, phosphate heads, lipid tails turn inside. They don't like water. So they're on the inside. So that forms our thylakoid membrane. So keep in mind, this is all happening in the thylakoid membrane, the inner thylakoid membrane. Now, there are these photosystems that are on here. There are thousands of them on each of the thylakoid membranes. Now, each one of these is thylakoids. Lots and lots of thylakoids. Look how many thylakoids are in that chloroplast. Now, that's not an exact number, I'm sure. But so think about the surface area. Instead of having just one big thylakoid, the more you have here, the more surface area. The more surface area, the more photosystems. So the more photosystems and surface area, the more energy that can be converted. Ultimately, the more whoa, where are you going? ATP and NADPH that's going to be made. And long term, we're going to make glucose coming out of the Calvin cycle. All right. Now, so what we have here is in step one of light reaction, we have sunlight hits and splits water. Okay, so water is split into the hydrogen ions, which are called protons. There's the positive charge, and oxygen, and the electrons are here go into the P680. Okay, so it's also going to, that sunlight is going to hit and split water in the stroma. Let's go back up here. So here's the stroma. Here's our thylakoid. Here's our whole chloroplast. These are the thylakoids. The whole stack's called the grana, and then all this space in between, that is called the stroma. Here's the stroma surrounding the thylakoid. Okay, so let's go back here. So sunlight's hitting it, splitting the water in the stroma. Okay, so sunlight striking here, splitting the water. It also is hitting photosystem 2 and photosystem 1. All right, now the excited electrons travel down the electron transport chain. La, 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 la. Now, remember, those electrons came from the magnesium that was in the chlorophyll A molecule. Those two excited electrons were able to leave the magnesium. They were in that valence shell. They left the magnesium because the sunlight heated them up and made them move a lot faster. So they were fast enough to escape that pull from the nucleus's positive protons. They could get away from there. So as the excited electrons go down this electron transport chain, their excited kinetic energy, oh boy, energy in motion, okay? So their excited kinetic energy, this is also called, ding, 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 here comes a word, free energy. Remember we talked about Gibbs, free energy. It was there, and here it is. So their excited kinetic energy, free energy, is going to be used to power the protons called proton pumps. Okay, now remember, the proton is the hydrogen ion. So here's the hydrogen ion. The water's been split, oxygen's been given off, and these hydrogen ions, these protons, are all here in the thylakoid space. Oh, hang on. This is just going to get amazing. You're not going to believe this, okay? Now, so, and then as the electrons, okay, so here we're pumping the protons into this confined space to build up potential energy. We're pumping it in to store the energy, all right? So here we have the protons, the electrons in the electron transport chain. There is a low hydrogen concentration here. There is a high hydrogen ion concentration here, high protons here, all right? So they're going to come in here. We have lots of them here, not many out here. It's what we call a proton pump. Oh my goodness. Pump, think of the word. What goes with pump? Energy. Yes, we are going to need energy because, oh my goodness, here we go. Hang on. Because we are going against the concentration gradient. Let's see, where's it at? I think it's in one of these. Oh, where's it at? Well, oh, come on. Oh, here it is, here it is, here it is. Okay, all right. So we have the potential energy, that's stored energy, into kinetic energy. So because here we have this proton pump, lots of protons here, not lots of protons here. So they have to get pumped. They're getting pumped through here. So we have ADP standing by here with inorganic phosphate. It's going to take energy to shove that phosphate group on there. Well, it doesn't really shove it, it bonds it, okay? And we form ATP as a result. So this is this phosphorylation because we are putting a phosphorus on there. It's just a nice way to say that, okay? So the free energy, so when we're here, let's go back here. Okay, so we're at photosystem. So the P680, the free electrons of the free energy of the electrons is used to actively transport the protons into the confined thylakoid space. So as that proton concentration, as the amount goes up inside the space, the protons go down in the stroma. Well, that makes sense because they're not in they're being pumped, okay? So a concentration gradient is created. So this is a source of potential energy now. So it's now potential energy, it's just stored up. It's like blowing air into a balloon. So as the pressure builds, more air is blown in. This is an example of potential energy. So now, I want you to keep in mind, too, that as the protons increase, as that hydrogen ion increases, the pH is dropping, too. Remember, this H+, those hydrogen ions, that pH is a measure of how much of that is in a solution. So, when we're looking at pH, it's the measure of the hydrogen ions. We're looking at how acidic something is. So, oh yeah, I mean, this is just wrapping all this stuff together. Isn't it great when you just see a plan come together? Ah! Okay, so now there are also, in this process, there are enzymes, I know, enzymes that are driving this reaction. I'm sorry for skipping around. There it is. Okay, so we have an enzyme here called ATP synthase. Oh, this is crazy. I bet you can totally figure this out on your own at this point. ACE, what does that mean? Enzyme. Syntha, like synthesis. Oh, to make, huh? And we're making, yep, to make ATP. This is the enzyme that's going to make ATP. Ah, that's so cool. Okay, so sure enough, this is the enzyme that's going to make ATP. And look what we're making. ATP. It's too much. It's just too much. It's so exciting. All right, so then in the P700s, two excited electrons combine. So they combine with the NADP plus that came from, it's a cycling back in from those light independent reactions from the Calvin cycle. So it's going to combine in, no, I want to stay here. And to make it negative so that the NADPH can be generated. So this is the ending point for this non-cyclic electron flow. All right. So in step 3, the trapped hydrogen ions, the trapped protons that are inside the thylakoid, the intermembrane space, are released through that ATP synthetase complex. Now, this is a group of enzymes, again, that are in the thylakoid membrane that help make ATP. All right. So, again, look at the name. The kinetic movement of the protons produce a large amount of ATP. And this here is an example of what's called energy coupling. Just think of the word. It's two different processes that are working together to make ATP. The first one was active transport to pump those hydrogen ions into the thylakoid to make the concentration gradient. The second is the second process is a type of diffusion, because then after they've been pumped, the protons are going from high to low concentration. So they're just going to diffuse. So the kinetic movement of the protons fuels the production of ATP. All right. And then lastly, we have ATP formed and NADPH formed. And that is going to be used to power the fixing of CO2, carbon dioxide, ultimately into the sugar of the Calvin cycle, which is glucose. There you have it. Light reactions at their best. Have a great night.